What's up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another Pay-Per-Viewpoint edition of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. This is the WWE BATTLEGROUND 2017 post-show where I'll be recapping what just transpired during the pay-per-view and giving my thoughts on everything that happened and all the other ins and outs to go along with that. I'm your host, as always, Tony Mango, and I gotta start things off by saying, first off, I was dead wrong about, I think, every single match on this card. I'm looking through this right now. I thought that, and this is going to be just a quick breakdown of like the wins and the losses, essentially. So, spoilers if you have not seen it already. I was assuming Ty Dillinger would win. Nope. I assumed that the Usos would retain. Nope. I thought Shinsuke Nakamura would win, but even though he did, he won by disqualification, not a pinfall. Got that wrong. I thought that Tamina had a guaranteed victory. Nope, first person eliminated in that match. Then I'm thinking to myself, well, AJ Styles is clearly going to retain the title against Kevin Owens. Nope. I did get the John Cena one right. I figured he would beat Rusev. Totally got Sami Zayn versus Mike Kanellis wrong. Didn't get anywhere with the Fashion Police. And I got the Jinder Mahal thing wrong. So, it would seem that future comments that I'm going to say here are based off of the fact that I was wrong. And it's not. I'm fine being wrong. I mean, nobody's perfect. You get your good days, your bad days as far as predictions go. And I'm not the only one who did this too. We did our usual expert predictions for Bleacher Report, and pretty much all of us got everything wrong. So it's not just me. But I do have to say, this pay-per-view overall, I didn't like it. Like, almost at all. This was one of the most bland, flattest type of pay-per-views to have so many surprises in it, which is odd to say because you would think that all these shocking moments and, interesting turns and stuff like that would be interesting enough, but I really didn't think that it was. And we're going to break down, things in more detail, and we might as well start off with the kickoff itself, because that's the first thing of the night. It's not technically a part of the main card, but it's still the first part of this whole discussion. And our pre-show panel was normal. Renee Young, Jerry the King Lawler, Sam Roberts, and David Otunga talking about really nothing for the most part. Carmella popped in for a little bit. She just basically said, like, hey, I'm Ms. Money in the Bank, and eventually I'll get a title shot. They were like, all right, thanks. See you later. Kayla Braxton had Mike and Maria Kanellis on the social media lounge. I honestly didn't pay attention to a word that they said because it doesn't matter. It never does. And then we have our kickoff match, which was Aiden English against Ty Dillinger, as I mentioned before. Bland. The feud has nothing going for it because there is no feud. And then Ty Dillinger loses. And I'm thinking to myself, why? Like, first off, this match didn't need to happen. They could have done with some other stuff. And I still think that it would have been a potentially good idea to have Chad Gable against Aiden English. And, of course, Chad Gable winning. Or maybe add a little bit more time to that Fashion Police thing. Because later on in the show, we'll get to that. That ended up being a little bit of a problem. But English and Dillinger have had a match before. And they never really had, like, a feud. And Dillinger hasn't been doing shit. I like Dillinger a lot. I think that Dillinger has not, like, he can't really go into extremes and say, like, oh, he's got, a Hall of Fame career ahead of him. Not necessarily. But I do think that he has a lot of upsides that he's not getting a chance to tap into. And Dillinger not wrestling on the average shows and then popping up to do a random kickoff match against a guy that is a total jobber is not a good thing for his career. And then for him to lose to that jobber. Come on, man. So I'm really disappointed in that because to me that seems almost like they were doing it just to do something. And if they're going to push Aiden English, don't give him the crybaby gimmick. If they're going to push him, also, don't do it at the expense of Ty Dillinger. Maybe Aiden English beats Sin Cara or something. Because we haven't really seen Sin Cara do anything recently, so that's another thing to take into mind. But whatever, it's the pre-show. Nobody really watches it for the most part. This story doesn't mean anything. There was nothing on the line. Whatever, we'll move on. That kind of a thing. Then we have a pretty good match in the Usos against the New Day for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship. One of the better matches of the night, I think. And I'm actually a big fan of the New Day winning the titles because not only am I a huge fan of the New Day, I also thought it was time. You guys know by now the New Day has been my favorite tag team in like God knows how many years. So you put the tag team titles on them, I'm going to be happy about it. I like the Usos, actually. I like the Usos more than most people seem to. A lot of people were really down on the Usos and saying that they were bored with them and that they hated like the Siva Tao and stuff. I liked them, and I kind of like the newer version of the Usos, but I don't really click with it as much as I had hoped that I would. So, even though they're fine for champions, they haven't really been doing anything with those titles. And the New Day as champions makes more sense to me. So, I liked the match, and I like that we have new champions. So, hey, thumbs up. Pay-Per-View's going in a more positive direction here. Then we get Shinsuke Nakamura versus Baron Corbin. And this is kind of where things start getting a little dicey. I have not liked this feud. This is one of those feuds where they are putting very, very little effort into it, and it shows. Of course, one problem with that is that Nakamura can't cut promos. I mean, he can physically cut a promo, but it's not going to be a good one. We know why. It's because the language barrier and stuff, so it's not entirely his fault. You know, it's hard to learn English and to not have that thick of an accent and stuff. But Baron Corbin is not somebody who can carry a feud with promos either. So essentially what they've been doing is they've been just having the two fight in the middle of like backstage segments and stuff. That leads to a sort of scenario where you go, all right, well, where's this going? Is it going to go to the two of them really, really having like a hardcore match or something? No, it's a standard match. Okay, well, at least they're going to be really going balls to the wall. No, not really. And in fact, we didn't even get a real winner on this because Baron Corbin low blows Shinsuke Nakamura. And once again, we've got our Money in the Bank winner who can't win a match. And sure, yeah, he didn't lose the match in the sense of like tapping out or something, but he didn't win the match. He low blowed somebody and he lost because of, you know, the DQ kind of situation. So now this just makes it seem like this is going to continue. And to tell you the truth, I don't want to see these two against each other at SummerSlam. So what do we do with them? Do we throw them in a United States Championship match with Styles and Owens and you just kind of keep that train going? Because then it's the same thing as the tag team stuff on SmackDown. Then we get AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura fighting Baron Corbin and Kevin Owens for the majority of the match. A little bit of a fight between Nakamura and Styles just to tease it. Baron Corbin does his thing. Kevin Owens retains the title, blah, 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 blah. Not really interested. So that was a letdown for sure for me. I didn't think that it was going to be the most important or the best match of the night, but I was hoping that it would be at least a little bit better than that. So that, you know, turns it into the wrong direction. But hey, we still have most of the card left. Turns us into the number one contenders fatal 5-way elimination match, which if you don't remember the contenders, it was Becky Lynch, Charlotte, Lana, Natalya, and Tamina. And as I mentioned before, this I thought was Tamina's match that she should be winning. She has the more interesting story going into this. She's somebody who I think could put on a great match with Naomi. I'm interested to see what Lana would do in that scenario. And I think that Tamina kind of deserves that sort of spot. Well, what happens first? Tamina gets eliminated. She taps out to Becky Lynch. Okay, there goes that idea. Which, okay, I'm not really interested in seeing all other four. So I'm already out of the match. Like, I'm already kind of disinterested to see what would happen. Lana gets eliminated, and I'm thinking to myself, God, don't be Charlotte. Thankfully, after Becky Lynch gets eliminated, so does Charlotte, and it goes to Natalya. But then it hits me, oh my God, that means we're going to get Natalya versus Naomi at SummerSlam? I do not care. Again, I don't care about this feud. I don't like Natalya as a heel. She's not strong enough to play that kind of part to me. So now that means all over the next couple of weeks heading up to SummerSlam, we're going to have a feud on SmackDown that I'm not interested in seeing for the women's division. And I'm still not sure if I'm going to be interested in the Raw women's division match either. So we could potentially be seeing 2 or more, matches on that SummerSlam card that I have zero interest in. Because Naomi versus Natalya, literally, they could put on a good match. And I do think that they both have positives that they bring to the table, but I have no interest in seeing it. It's just, what's the story going to be? Natalya wants the title. Naomi doesn't want to lose it. That's it? Well, bring me a fucking pillow. That's boring. You guys may think differently. And if you do, let me know what you think in the comments below. You can agree, you can disagree, as long as you keep it civil and it's not just like, fuck you, you're wrong, whatever. But yeah, let me know, like, is that something that seems very interesting to you? Am I one of the people that just doesn't connect to Natalya, but a lot of other people do? And that's actually like, oh man, that's great, Natalya's gonna fight. Because if that's the case, I hope you guys enjoy it. I don't think I'm going to. Then again, maybe they have some kind of big storyline up in their sleeves, and maybe it's going to be the most interesting thing going into SummerSlam. It's always a possibility. Right now, though, no interest at all. Takes us into the United States Championship match. AJ Styles, unsuccessful in defending against Kevin Owens, and I really liked the match, but the ending of it was just weird. He rolls up Styles, and the referee's just sort of like, yeah, 1, 2, 3. New champion. There's no like, oh, he almost kicked out, or like the roll up came out of nowhere or whatever. It was just very odd. I didn't like that at all. I thought that they could have done a lot of different things. And now I'm curious, what was the point of AJ Styles winning that United States title? Was it just to give him that thing on the DVD that people have been talking about? Was it just to say, let's throw a title change in the mix here? Because I don't like it when WWE does that. And there you go. They did it again. So either Styles wins the title back again, or Kevin Owens fights somebody else. And I don't know. Who does Kevin Owens fight at SummerSlam? John Cena? I've seen that a bunch of times. I don't really want to see that all that much. Plus, there's other options and everything. Does he fight Styles again? I kind of don't want to see that again either. He's not going to fight Rusev. He's not going to fight... Clearly, he's not going to fight Ty Dillinger, because Ty Dillinger can't even beat Aiden English. So is he going to fight Chad Gable? If that's the case, I'm kind of interested to see it. But what do we do with AJ Styles? Some of these questions are going to be answered, obviously, heading into SummerSlam. Next week, 2 days from now, when we start getting into SmackDown, we're going to get some kind of answers of what we go forward. But as far as for this pay-per-view, I liked the AJ Styles Kevin Owens match, but I hated the ending of it, so that really hindered it. And I don't like their decision to change the champion until I find out what the story is going forward. Because maybe I'll look into it and I'll go, yeah, you know what? I like Kevin Owens better as the U.S. champion. But I kind of just... Rusev doing the anti-American thing and Jinder doing the anti-American thing. Do we really need Kevin Owens to still do an anti-American thing too? That's another problem. So right now, I'm working under the assumption that I don't like where this is going. Then that takes us into the flag match, Rusev against John Cena. I'll give him credit. There was a nice little addition to the flag match rules, where last time the flag match was awful. It was that whole idea where it was like you can beat your opponent in any way, and then afterward you can pose with your flag. That's awful. So I was confused. I wasn't really paying attention when they announced the whole that you had to like put it on the stand. I was, bullshitting with my friends and stuff like that. I thought that the stand was there just for like a pose afterward. And when Rusev grabbed the flag, I'm like, oh shit, Rusev won. Why aren't they ringing the bell? I like the addition of that little stand. I think that that's a good way to do that, because it added a little bit more to it. It sort of became where you're not just like capturing the flag and that's the end of it. And it's a little bit of a mix of like a normal flag match with sort of like a stretcher match or an ambulance match where you need to go outside of the ring and do something else, that kind of thing. So I like that. But I didn't really care for most of the match. I didn't really like this feud at all. It was just the same thing that Rusev and John Cena had done before, but miniaturized. So, you have John Cena say, American pride, yeah, I need to win. And Rusev going, nah, fuck America. Well, that's bland. And bland is really the main descriptive word I can use for this. Underwhelming is another thing, but bland fits it more. Because really, like, we've seen that before, and we've seen better. So I don't really want to see Rusev and John Cena clash anymore. Certainly not at SummerSlam. And now we did the flag match, so now I don't want to see John Cena against Jinder Mahal in a flag match, because we just did a flag match. So where do we go from here? Again, I'm very, very curious, but I'm not having the most optimistic outlook for this, because I didn't like this pay-per-view. So it's sort of like our build-up to Battleground made me more intrigued, but then at the same time, they dropped the ball. So why should I think that they're not going to drop the ball heading into SummerSlam, you know? We get our Fashion Files thing after this, and another disappointment. We're supposed to get some kind of actual resolution to that, and we get the Ascension come out, and they say, we were the ones responsible, and then the Fashion Police say, no, and then they get attacked again. So we're exactly the way that we were last week. And it was really rushed, and it just wasn't as fun as what the normal ones are, so that was another disappointment too. And at this point, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, we only have 2 matches left on the card. We've got Zayn and Kanellis, which I had already seen the 2 fight on SmackDown, and either Kanellis wins, and it's the same exact thing, or Sami Zayn wins just to prolong the feud. And then we've got this Punjabi prison match, which I didn't think was going to be all that great. And then, now that the events had happened throughout the night, there went the idea of that cash-in. I'm like, oh, we're not getting that anymore. So now I wasn't even excited to see a cash-in. So after the Fashion Police thing was gone, I was like, you know what? That was the thing I was looking forward to the most. And now that was a disappointment too. So we go to our filler match, Sami Zayn against Mike Kanellis, and it's a filler match. Sami Zayn wins, so that means it's 1 for Kanellis, 1 for Sami Zayn. They can do a 3rd one on SmackDown, and then we can move on. And then the Punjabi prison match, that match itself, the gimmick, is just not that logically great. Because you have this whole idea of, like, the cage doors are going to open up, and they can only be open for 60 seconds, and then you need to climb over it. So that means we know somebody's going to climb over it because they present it. It's the Chekhov's gun type of thing. So that means all 4 doors need to be open, and nobody's going to escape until the 4th door is the one open. So you got 3 minutes of, I'm going to open up the door, and then we're going to struggle to not go out the door. And then, oh, look at that, we're down to like 5 seconds left. Somebody goes out through the door, and the other one has to climb. So we knew that that was coming. And then we get a cool spot, obviously, of the Singh brother. I can't remember which one it was. Sunil, it might have been. Falling off the cage and landing onto the commentary table. That was cool. But one move does not make a match. Follows it up with, not only does Jinder Mahal retain, he retains with the help of the returning Great Khali. The categorically best example of a shit wrestler in the ring comes back to WWE, and at first I'm thinking to myself, oh wow, that's a surprise, that's kind of cool. Then I go, wait a minute, that's Khali. He was awful. So I don't want to see Great Khali back in WWE. That's not a good thing. So you essentially boil this pay-per-view down, in my mind, to, I'm glad that the New Day won the titles, and the rest of it you can toss away. I don't like the idea of Jinder Mahal keeping this title, and I don't like Randy Orton's chances going forward. I'm begging that we don't get a Great Khali match ever again in the future, especially not Khali versus Randy Orton. That is going to be one of the most boring contests ever. I don't care about the Sami Zayn Mike Kanellis feud as much as I was hoping. I don't want to see this Rusev Cena thing continue. I don't know what's happening with the United States title, but at least I'm interested to see where they go from there, because there's some possibilities. But if it's like Nakamura versus Corbin versus Styles versus Owens, that's so, like, it requires no effort at all. And that's the running theme I'm thinking is going on right now. It seems like the writing team just doesn't want to work. We got so many fatal 4-ways and fatal 5-ways and triple threats and tag team matches and 6-man tags, and it's blah. So I hate to be so down on this, especially because it's like all I've done is spent 20 minutes talking about how I was bored. So I'm sure that you guys did not really enjoy that kind of a review, and I apologize for that, but hey, it is what it is. I'm not going to feign excitement if I'm not excited, and I'm not going to, say something's a 10 out of 10 if I didn't really enjoy it all that much. So that's the overall perspective I had about Battleground. It's an underwhelming pay-per-view that made me less interested for SummerSlam, which is really a shame when you think about it. But I want to know what you guys have to say. What was your least favorite and your favorite part of the night? My least favorite part was probably that Kevin Owens title win at the end, because it was such a weird title win, and I don't know what they're doing in the future, but I mean, take or leave anything for the most part. Actually, you know what? My least favorite part was the women's match, and now, of course, people are going to go, of course it was a women's match. It's not because it was a women's match, it's just I don't want Natalya to win. And my favorite part is the New Day winning those titles. That was the only thing that was like full-on positive for this whole night. Obviously, if you agree or you disagree, as I mentioned before, leave those comments below. Try to keep it civil. Try not to chew me out too much. And I promise we have better things coming your way as far as content for Smack Talk. We're going to be doing, obviously, the next edition of the Hot Tags is coming up tomorrow night. On Monday night, I'll be recording that. Tuesday, at some point during the day, I'll be posting the Ask Him and all the other content that goes along with that. Wednesday is when we're most likely going to be recording the mailbag. So send in any questions that you have for that as soon as you possibly can so I can get that into the mix. And then actually, a little bit later on in that week, I'm going to be doing the next week's set of content out of the way in the weekend because I'm not going to be really available to do that. So after that, you can look forward to a Sporkle quiz and potentially maybe one or two other main events if I can kind of swing a little bit of free time to do it. But we'll see. I don't want to really promise anything and then not deliver on it. But a couple things coming your way like that. And if you were interested in knowing when all that stuff is going to be posted, the best thing for you to do is hit that subscribe button. And when you can check off that little bell icon for receiving the notifications, then you'll obviously be notified of whenever those things go up. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter at SmarkOutMoment and check out all the stuff that's happening, not only on the Smack Talk side of things, but all the website content too, because we have our weekly articles and we've got the TV coverage, and every once in a while we've got a 5 Moves of Doom or wrestling history lesson or, some different kind of content like that. So stay tuned on the website itself for that too. And that's going to do me in for the Battleground 2017 post show. Thanks for listening, everybody. This has been another Smark Out moment, and I'm being counted out.